Hello, California DECA. Welcome to day 4 of Champ Camp, which is Vivacious Visuals. Today, we are here with Michelle Margiotto. Michelle, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. I'm Michelle. I was in DECA all throughout my time in high school. I'm currently a freshman, studying business administration at Haas at UC Berkeley.
So, why don't we start off just, Michelle, what do you do when you first get handed your scenario for a DECA roleplay?
When I first get handed it, I definitely just do a brief read over it and underline the things that stand out the most to me, the things that catch my eye, like all of a sudden. And then I'll like reread it and really focus in on what it's saying and how the things that I thought were most important can be incorporated back to like the main purpose of the role play scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what I do. I make sure to write down what I am and what my judge is. So that's the first thing I always mention when I go into a role play. And I also like section off a piece of paper just so I can put each performance indicator in a box just to make sure that I'm adjusting all my points, things like that. So Michelle, like after you write down the most important facts, what do you do to brainstorm? What do you think about? What do you make sure to include?
Yeah, so I like to pull from stuff that I've done, like in my past time or seen done that's really like creative in my community. I've worked on a lot of projects like across the country with like PR. I'm in hospitality, and I like to pull from like creative things that I've seen, like being incorporated in that way. And I like to pull from stuff that I've already like learned about and studied about and how it like affects our economic systems overall. And
Yeah, I completely agree. I think real life examples are very important. I compete in food marketing. So, like over the summer, I was going through the airport and there was a stand that really stood out to me. I thought their marketing was very strong. So, I took a picture of it. And actually, 2 weeks later, my role play for DECA was exactly the same. So, it's really important just to be aware of your surroundings, especially if you're like in an individual event that's pretty specific. You kind of know what it's going to be about for the most part. So, just like, be aware of those scenarios in real life. So, Michelle, when you go into your role play, when you're meeting with your judge, what's the first thing you do?
I definitely introduce myself, and just try to make a really good first impression because quite honestly, the one thing that I've learned, especially at like Berkeley and working with venture capitalists at like such a prestigious school, you the very stereotypical thing of you can only make like one first impression is very true. The second that you meet somebody, they're gonna remember that second, and that's gonna affect the way that they I guess listen to you for the rest of your presentation. So it's really good to be like open and like seem enthusiastic about what you're doing. That's like the most important thing because then they'll match your energy. And I think it's really important to just be confident no matter if you are or aren't. You just pretend that you are, and they'll never know the difference. And they'll take you a lot more seriously and have a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, an introduction really is everything. And if you're nervous about an introduction, members of California DECA, you can always prepare an introduction ahead of time and just stick in the word of maybe like what your position is so that going into your role play, you already know what the first minute of your situation is going to really be. So, Michelle, today is all about visuals. How do you incorporate visuals, whether that be just your body language in your role play or a drawing on a piece of paper? What do you do?
Yeah, I think that body language, first of all, is very important. People like you have to make sure that you like feel presentable and like you present yourself well, or else people again like aren't going to take you as seriously as they may want. It's all about like how your body presentation and like verbal presentation matches your ideas itself because they're pretty much like 50-50. I'd say that that's like really important just to present yourself and then also to draw an aid if you're describing something that you feel will like benefit from showing an aid. I think that definitely go for it. If you have even time to just draw a little sketch in a role play with like such minimal time, it could really be really useful for these judges to have an idea of what you're doing. I know that like later on in your life, visual aids are really important. And so these experienced like judges definitely will appreciate seeing something of such like a more advanced level. You taking it very seriously by like matching their level, I guess.
Yeah, and your visuals can be super simple, even if you draw like a pie chart representing the different customer segments that you're trying to represent. Super, super easy. Maybe like, oh, 80% of our target market are high schoolers. Just draw like 80% of a circle is high schoolers. The other 20% is maybe people in their late 20s and 30s. So that's like super easy. And then in terms of how you're like sitting visually, make sure you're standing up straight. If you have nail polish on, make sure that's not chipped. That actually happened to me my freshman year of DECA. I had chipped nail polish and it didn't really occur to me. And after the competition was over, I got my notes back and she'd noticed that my nails were chipped. So if you're going to be wearing nail polish or if you're going to be wearing earrings, make sure that nothing's really distracting. It's not something that's going to take the judge's attention away from you in your presentation. Michelle, do you have any other tips that you would like to tell the members of California DECA in terms of role plays, or even from your experience doing written events, how you incorporate your visuals?
Yeah, I worked a lot with like hospitality, and so when I did like written events, one of the most important like aspects of my entire like paper, I guess, was including visual aids about like global trends. And it's kind of really important to focus on how you're going to encourage somebody to like take you seriously, to like make them think that you know exactly what you're talking about. And that becomes really important later on in your life too. If you ever want to pitch like your idea to someone like a venture capitalist, they rely very heavily on like visual aids and you backing up everything that you say with some sort of like I guess like economic trend or something like macro trend. So it's really important to capture everything that you can to back up what you're saying. Even if you don't necessarily know like statistics, when you're in a role play, it's really important to say there is an increase like of automation in this industry or whatever. Yeah, it's really important to bring in something to back up what you're saying. And that normally can be portrayed by something like a visual aid, but I guess sometimes with a role play, it's a little harder to do that, but definitely for a like written event, that's really important to have.
Yeah. And in terms of like a role play, when you're doing like a statistic, your judge knows that you're under a time constraint. So if your number is a little bit off, maybe it's not 100% accurate, they know that, and that's completely okay. But if you have like the exact number, go for it, throw it out there. They want to see that. And for written events, make sure you're not just like finding a picture on Google. Make sure you're actually taking the time to curate your images to represent your presentation, things like that, that may really make that difference and make you stand out from the competition. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for taking this time to speak with me today, and all of the members of California DECA will definitely benefit from you and your experience. Now that we've been able to speak with Michelle about what she does to incorporate visuals with her presentations, now we are going to be going over a written event and see what visual elements really stand out and make the presentation the best it can be. Okay, sharing my screen. So this is a written event that was done by a Michigan student, and they placed at the statewide level. So when we look at the first page, that's a lot of color. It looks very well put together. The colors are matching, which is really cool. There's a bunch of different shades of yellow and blue, so it's very engaging for the reader. I also like the fonts. It's really cute how they spaced out the bottom font below their title of their presentation. Just gives a little bit of visual elements. Okay, I really like this table of contents. If you see, the border of the report is consistent throughout the pages, and the logo of the company is on the page, which is really cool. And it's cool that they're continuing that on from the first page. Additionally, what I love about the table of contents is you can read it very easily. It's very simple. The font is very basic and it covers the entire page. There's no blank space. That's really great. Moving on to the next page, I love that the text is broken up by visuals. There may be a lot of words on this page, but they must have felt that that may have been necessary to convey the points they were arguing. But the image right here at the top is really great. I also love how this is 3D down here, and the colors are still being carried over. So it's not like we're just being thrown a bunch of colors and shapes. It's very organized. I like that the problems, customer segments, all those are bolded, which makes it so that the reader and the judge really knows what section they're reading about. Going on to the next page, this theme of Maybe 3D is being carried over. I really like it. It's the same colors, very simple, but there is a lot of text on that page. So be aware of how much text you're using. I also love that the company name is down here. Maybe a way that you could do this in your presentation is put your logo down here. I like that. Some people choose to put their logo at the top of the page. Some people do it at the bottom. Here they're doing it at the bottom. This is kind of the same, so we're going to go on to the next page. I like that this key metrics is broken into a little chart. It's very engaging, and we know exactly what we're talking about. It's a lot better than words being just thrown out there. Very simple. Great. Okay, I love this page. There are visuals breaking up the text. So something that I've learned being a yearbook student is that when pictures are just at the bottom of the page, it encourages whoever's looking at your presentation to move on to the next page. And that's something that we really don't want happening. So I think it's really great that these pictures are incorporated within the text and that they're breaking it up so that while the reader is reading it, they can also look at visuals. They're not being distracted, but they also have more things to engage with. This page is kind of similar, like the 3D. They chose a new color. There's some gray in here that wasn't in any of the pages before. Okay, so for this page, there's a little bit more text. I would wish that they had like put a little picture in this white space, but overall, very informational. We know exactly what we're reading about based on the bolded sections. Graphs. Everyone loves graphs. This graph is really cool. It says Metropolitan Policy Program, so it looks very professional. There's more colors. It's the same colors of the company, so I really like that they were able to find a graph that incorporated their company's colors. Same with this page, so we're just going to skip over it. I like these bullet points. I wish that there was less text on this page. These are very, very long sections, but I do really enjoy the fact that there are bullet points because that way we know exactly what the benefits are, which is what's being listed down here. Same with these pages. Okay, something that's a little off for me is this is centered, the text is centered, and that isn't the case for any of the other sections. So just be conscious that your text is following the same format throughout your presentation, regardless of what you choose. Okay, I love this down here, the fact that they mentioned the trade shows that they've attended. It shows a visual element. It shows that they are professional. So that's great. Ooh, I love this. This is super cute. Visual element in, excuse me, visual element within the presentation. It follows the company's colors. It's great. Judges love numbers. So these charts that include costs are very great. I wish there was a little bit more color in them, but the gray is definitely allowing the reader to just look at the numbers, just get all that information taken in. It's not distracting, so that's cool. A lot of numbers. It also makes it look very professional. It looks like they know what they're talking about. That's great. Okay, I love this. This way, we know exactly what the net profit is, and that's exactly what they're being asked. So I think that that's a very great visual element. It stands out. There's no other green in the presentation except for that number. So it shows how significant those costs really are. Those profits really are. I love how they actually did this. They highlighted the colors of different sections that were like the most important parts of their chart. So that's something that you can include in your presentation when talking about numbers. Another chart back up here. Love the metrics. Okay, these are all the same. So we're just going to scroll down here and see if there's anything else new. Wow, very dense bibliography. That shows how researched they were, how prepared they were. I like that the font's a little bit smaller because it's a lot of information, so that may be something you consider. And yeah, that's the end of that presentation. I think overall they did a great job. I love that the presentation had a background that was consistent throughout all the pages. The colors were the same, so that was great. Lots of visuals, charts, graphs, and there was a lot of numbers included, so that was really great. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation.